single pair of pants I own has this tuck pinned out because things are changing and they are continuing to change, and that makes me discouraged and frustrated about sewing pants. So what do you do when sewing gets frustrating? Hi, I'm Myrna. Thanks for joining me in my studio. Future Myrna popping in for just a minute. I realized I took way too long to introduce you to this week's project. Spoiler alert, it's a skirt. And also let me apologize for the poor lighting. I am working on it. There's so much to learn. Anyway, on to the video. One of the very first things I do is go back to something that was successful. And this is Vogue 1634 by Sandra Betzina. I talked about it in an earlier video that I'll link in the description along with the timestamps for this one. Apparently Callie was missed in the last video, so here she is. I sewed together one of the toys she ripped the head off of. It may last another 20 minutes. In this video, I will talk about some of the tips that I use when I'm frustrated. First, I'll discuss my mannequin and the cover that I have on it. I had a comment ask me about that. I also had several comments asking about the t-shirt pattern. It was my TNT that has developed over the 15-16 years I've been making that t-shirt, and it has several different iterations for the amount of stretch in each garment, different necklines, things like that. But I just repeat it time and time again. It is so far from the original, and I don't even know what pattern the original was. But if you find a t-shirt pattern, basically anyone, that you can work with, and you just keep sewing it and fine-tuning it, it will eventually become a surefire success. And those are also the types of garments to sew when you're frustrated. Not only put something on that's successful, but go back to sew something that's successful. I'll put her down and get the mannequin. Yes, you have to go down. And I'll show you what I cover it with. This is my mannequin. Her name is Millicent. I don't know, it was the one that struck me. Often she'll have a bra on, the same that I wear, and I will pat it because she's a B cup, and I think I'm a C cup right now, but I actually haven't measured lately. Things are shifting. This is a polyester knit, and I measured around her, so my hip is my biggest area, but I think I measured at the bust so that it would be snug. And first sewed a tube. I put this fabric on wrong size out, and I pinned where the shoulders would be. So like the bottom of a purse bag, I sewed across and then across to give some depth. Then put it on the mannequin, and it's nice and stretchy. The first one I made was black, and for me that was not a good idea because I sew so many black garments. Then I sewed another tube to the top and put a drawstring there, and created a drawstring at the bottom. You need a lot of cord for that drawstring, but I just take that and tuck it up inside, and now I have a slippery surface that is not glaringly blue. If you are like me, you react quite strongly to visual things. You may have noticed that the pressing board is no longer pink. The pink was shouting at me. It was so loud I had to make it go away. I needed to calm that blue down as well. Plus, I wanted something smoother so I wouldn't always be fighting with the mannequin and pulling it off of its base. Here's that dress. It is on the snug side for me. That just slides on there quite easily because of the cover. If you have a mannequin, then having this silky cover on it is great. There are so many reasons why you might be frustrated with sewing. Sometimes it's because I'm overthinking. Sometimes I've spent too much time on trying to resolve the same issue that I've stopped having fun. Other times it's life stuff. Amazing how that can get in the way. But for whatever reason, you need a win. When I need a win, I revert to a couple different things. One choice might be to sew with a favorite fabric. I really love denim. However, I do not want to make the two things that I am most likely to make of denim. Not making pants right now. They are part of making me feel frustrated, fat, and frumpy. No pants. The other thing I would really like to make in denim is a fitted jean skirt. And that is so full of emotion because of the injury on my hip and because that used to be a favorite garment before I had my accident. And so that's it, no more, go play. So check that one off the list. I might also sew with a favorite color. This is a light to medium weight linen. I love linen. And this is Berta 5823. A dress would be perfect. There's very little fitting to a dress, especially when you know your upper measurements. It has an elastic waist like the top that I sewed a couple weeks ago. And I already tested that I don't mind the elastic waist. It has a couple pleats in the back, a little bit of a decorative element at the neck that would be slightly different than what I'm used to. So it's a new adventure and it's a familiar one. It has the potential to be successful. I might revert to a garment that's a surefire success, which for me would be a t-shirt. I wear a lot of t-shirts. Isn't this fabric gorgeous? I got that at Fabricland near me and I know it makes my eyes really, really green. I have been wanting to make a wrap t-shirt. There's New Look 6804 that has all this ruching over the tummy area. I have successfully worn that style before. I felt very comfortable in it and made it a lot. And I know a fabulous tip for pulling that neckline in and having it lay flat against my body. All the other measurements are based on my T&T pattern. So this is probably the most successful option. I could also use this one, which is a tie wrap. This one is sewn into the seam allowance. This one is just tied at the side. I have never done that. So it would be really close to familiar. A lot of it is very, very familiar, but that one little touch would be slightly different. You will need to weigh how much familiar and how much different you need when you're frustrated. This is a medium weight cotton that I bought in the upholstery section at Fabricland. It was white with the black polka dots and I over dyed it. And on my inspiration board I have this image of a polka dot skirt. It has a button placket partially down on the front. It has pockets, which are unusual for me, but when I tried on the kite pants last week, I was thinking maybe I could add pockets. It has an elastic waist, and at the bottom there is elastic pulling this side in so that it's not just A-line. The pattern that I have that could work for that is Berta 6252. This has pockets. It has buttons down the front that I could convert to just a placket. It has a fitted waistband. I could do that, or I could switch it to an elastic waistband, give myself that little bit more room, and I can easily sew a casing into the hem and pull those sides in with elastic. This is the choice that has the least possibility of success, but it's doable. So now I just have to decide. I will go away and sew something. If I'm really lucky, maybe I'll sew two somethings. All I know for sure is that it will not be pants. It's unlikely to be a dress. It will not be a fitted skirt. I used to wear skirts a lot and I would like to get back to wearing them more. And I realized I forgot to show you this. One thing I will also do is sew in a different size. This is a little welcome to the world coat that I'm making for my granddaughter. She turns 1 at the end of next month. This is not the collar. It is a piece of fabric I sewed in there to keep it stable as I've been putting the denim through the wash, trying to soften it. I'm about to try vinegar because it is still very stiff. I need to get her name and birth date embroidered on the inside of the lining and sew those two together sometime soon, or Grandma will be late. It has happened before. I'll see you when I finish sewing. This isn't this week's project. However, it's an earlier version of Marcy Tilton's Vogue 8499. This is copyright 2008, out of print. I made it in 2012, so it is 14 years old already. And it looks it. It is faded. I've taken it apart several times and put it back together again because I really, really love it. But that's strange in that I haven't worn it for quite a while, and it is part of the story of this week's garment. So note that it fits me. It's probably a little bit too tight, although I only figured that out like yesterday. But other than that, I can get it on. It's over my hips, it's around my waist, it's there. This week's project, a version of the same skirt. I was trotting through them all on my way to find the washroom, and this sweater caught my eye because it's in one of my absolute favorite colors that goes beautifully with denim. And it was in this textured waffle weave, so detour. The skirt, it changed itself right from the beginning. When I initially bought the fabric, it had greenish flowers on it that went perfectly with this knit. And my intention was to sew the skirt and the matching t-shirt. I started on the t-shirt while I washed the fabric. And when I finished washing the fabric, it wasn't green anymore, it was white. That no longer really goes with the t-shirt. Then I started in on the skirt. I went to my pattern envelope, I pulled out the pattern pieces, and I confidently started stitching them because in my mind, I have only ever sewn that skirt once, and it fits me. I'll just take this off because it's hot. I also like the skirt with more of a curved hemline to just soften that hip edge. There's some interesting things about this pattern. When you sew the hems, you do it on every individual piece first before you sew the seams together. And this curve is like a dart at the bottom. This is basically an A-line skirt, which we know I don't like, except for that beveled edge, which I love. So I'm confidently sewing along. I've done all the hems, I've serged all the side seams, I've sewed them all together but one seam. I measure along the waistband to see how long it's going to be, and I look at the number and I think, that is not going over my hips. But do I pay attention to that? Absolutely not. This fits me, I know that. So I just carry on sewing, thinking some miracle is going to happen and it's going to shimmy up and over. Well, it didn't. And so I looked at that and thought, now what do I do? Luckily, I had bought a fair amount of the fabric. It was on for an incredibly well-reduced amount. I think it was $8 a meter. So I cut out 2 more side panels. The skirt I showed you last has 5 panels, 2 back, 1 middle front, and 2 side panels. And this one has 7. It has 2 back, 1 front, and 4 side panels. That worked out okay. And I carried on sewing it, and here it is, and I think I'll get lots of wear out of it. How I differ from the pattern, I need my other glasses to see this. All right, I left off the pockets you saw on the other one, and I did not put a zipper in the back because I can get it over my hips. Why bother? And I thought the elastic was only partial, but it's not. It's partial on the pants, but it goes all the way around on the skirt. A nice simple sew and a lovely, very wearable garment. And that's this week's project. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you again next week, perhaps with a top that goes with. I'm not sure yet. I like the idea. My friend Mary and I were talking about that, the idea of always sewing something to go with. Sounds like a good idea. See you next week.